You know, they say diversity is our strength. But when the samosas run out before the fried chicken, we know who really runs this potluck, don't we?
The first insult landed like a joke, tossed casually across the dinner table. Her friends laughed, maybe a second too long, and he smiled back purely out of habit. But inside, his chest felt tight, like something delicate had just cracked. She was too caught up in the moment, basking in the attention of people who seemed to enjoy a little bit of humiliation, to even notice his silence. Later that night, his phone buzzed. It was a screenshot from her group chat, one she'd forgotten to hide. Her friends were calling him boring, soft, predictable, and her response? A series of laughing emojis. He just stared at the screen, the phone's glow feeling colder than the words themselves. The next morning, he acted like nothing had happened. He made coffee, asked about her day, playing the part of the dutiful partner flawlessly. She chattered on, completely at ease, confident that he would just absorb the disrespect like he always did. But something had shifted. At work, he stopped venting to his colleagues, stopped trying to explain the dynamic at home. He just started watching. He noticed how often she would dismiss his opinion in public, only to lean on him for support in private. It became clear she enjoyed the stability he provided but resented his actual presence. He didn't confront her. Instead, he started to withdraw, pulling back his emotional investment piece by piece. She saw this distance not as a consequence but as weakness. She figured he was just sulking and would eventually snap out of it. Her friends, sensing an opportunity, escalated their behavior. They started openly mocking him at dinners, questioning his masculinity, his ambition. And she joined right in, her laughter the loudest in the room. That night, he didn't argue. He didn't even react. He simply turned over and slept facing the wall. The next day, a quiet revolution began. He opened a separate bank account and rerouted his income. The little extras, the luxury deliveries, the impulsive shopping sprees she never had to think about, they just stopped. She noticed, of course, but she framed it as him being petty and childish. He also started going to the gym, not for a revenge body, but for the discipline it offered. His posture straightened. His silence grew heavier. And he noticed people started treating him differently, with a newfound respect. She tried to tease him about his new routine in front of her friends, but he refused to engage. The lack of a reaction from him was more unsettling to her than any angry outburst could have been. At home, the accusations started. He was acting strange, being distant, unloving. He just looked at her and calmly asked, "When did respect stop being part of love?" She scoffed, rolled her eyes, and threw back some rehearsed line her friends had probably fed her. That was the moment he knew. He stopped hoping she would ever understand. Quietly, he consulted a lawyer. He brought with him all the documents she never knew he had kept. He learned what he could protect, what needed to be separated, and how much timing mattered. At home, he remained a ghost polite, composed but emotionally unreachable. She started complaining that he'd changed, that he wasn't trying anymore. He simply reminded her, effort without respect is just humiliation. Her friends encouraged her to push him, to test his limits, so she did. She demanded money. She demanded apologies. She demanded the obedience he no longer offered. Then came the final gathering. She insulted him again, louder and more pointedly than ever before. He didn't flinch. He just stood up calmly, wished everyone a good night, and walked out the door alone. The silence he left behind felt different this time. It felt final. The next morning, her access to their shared accounts was restricted. Panic set in. She called him, screaming, calling him controlling, abusive, dramatic. He didn't respond with emotion. He responded with legal language. It was only then that she realized he hadn't just been sulking. He had already checked out of the relationship entirely. Her friends, true to form, advised more confrontation. The confrontation turned into a screaming match on her side, at least. He just listened quietly until she was done, and then handed her the legal documents. The word separation landed with more force than any insult she had ever thrown at him. She laughed, a nervous, shaky sound, assuming it was just a scare tactic to get her to behave, and then she saw it. His wedding ring was gone. Her entire demeanor shifted from mockery to raw fear in an instant. The apologies started pouring out. She blamed her friends. She minimized her actions. She said she never meant for it to get this far. He just looked at her and said, "Respect that's delayed is respect that's denied." She packed her bags in a rage, completely convinced he would come crawling back, begging her to return once she was gone. But days turned into a week and he never called. When her financial resources dried up, her friends slowly distanced themselves. She finally reached out again, her tone much softer, asking if they could talk. He agreed to meet, but in a public place. He was composed, distant, a stranger. She cried, telling him she never, ever meant to hurt him. He replied without malice, "Intent doesn't erase impact." He finalized everything with clinical precision. There was no drama, no big spectacle. She simply lost access to the life she had so carelessly mocked. For the first time in years, the house was peaceful. He rebuilt his life quietly, methodically. He became stronger, more focused, and completely unapologetic for who he was. From a distance, she watched him thrive, and he never offered an explanation for his success. It was only then, when it was far too late, that she finally understood. Humiliation doesn't create submission. It can create monsters, and sometimes a chosen silence isn't a sign of weakness. It's the most merciless and powerful response of all. Thanks for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more content like this. Take care.